it's Brian Shacochis at Dynasty Tools, your boy from Dynasty Nerds, the Devi squad over there. We just finished our hashtag nerds C2C draft, our Campus to Canton League draft. We had a lot of recent interest in the Campus to Canton League format. It's the best format you'll ever play. Everybody who tries it loves it, guaranteed. All right, if you like Devi at all, this is Devi on steroids and whatever other supplements you can think of. Is the best, right? It's like you got Devi, you got your college guys. What if you could just take all your college guys and use them every single week and help you win a title in college, and then they still go up to your NFL squad? It's the best. Okay, so the NCAA side of the Campus to Canton League draft is a blast. It is so much fun. We just finished, and a lot of guys have asked questions. A lot of guys have had so much interest. I've been excited to see new Campus to Canton leagues popping up, sprouting out, and that's been a beautiful thing. We want to see this format grow, because if you try it, you will love it. It seems overwhelming, and it's not. I'm telling you, if you like football, you can get in here and you can do this and you can have a blast with it. Okay, so this video here is just to try and give you one guy's 2 cents as I went through this journey, as I went through a month-long 45-round draft. How do you build a team in the Campus to Canton League? So this is one guy's thoughts. I'm not saying I had the right way to do it. This is just my way to do it in this here draft. So this is going through. Let's take you through my thoughts as we went through, the strategy as we go. Look, I like my results of this team. I learned a lot. I feel like I went through a month earlier. We did the Survivors League, which is another league full of sharks and absolute beast lineup of owners. And we went through that. I didn't like my team as much on the result on the back end of that draft. I felt like I learned a lot, though. I like this one better that I'm going to take you through here. I felt like I learned a good amount, and I was able to apply that and do a better job overall. In C2C, I think if you're going through it in the first time and building a team on the NCAA side of this type of league, there's a unique balance that you're looking for. You're not just picking prospects, you're also building a team. And then at the same time, you're not just building a team, but you're also picking prospects for as long as you can. And that sounds like it's saying nothing, but it's actually kind of saying a lot. Generally speaking, if I'm going into a C2C draft, I'm going to approach it in 3 stages. Okay? Stage 1 is I'm going to pick NFL prospects, the best NFL prospects, regardless of position, until I can't anymore. Okay, that's stage 1. Stage 2, I'm going to pivot to picking the best potential NFL prospects with a slight eye on a team build. All right, so I'm going to allow maybe positional depth needs to be a possible tiebreaker. Stage 3 is going to be where I pivot to building a team. Okay, that's later in the draft. I'm going to develop positional depth, but I'm still going to keep that eye on potential dot throw as an NFL prospect. All right, that NFL dot throw potential, especially if it can help me break a tie in making a decision. All right, so let's go through the entire draft, start to finish, all 45 rounds. I'll share footage of each pick along the way and my thoughts as I made each selection. Okay, so in the first round, I was able to trade up on a cheap, which I liked. I was able to select Travis Etienne. We all know Travis Etienne, Clemson running back senior. Love his burst and acceleration, plus his physicality to complement speed when needed. I was really happy with the results of this pick. Made big strides as a receiver in 2019. Definitely we still need to see him get a little bit more natural with it. I would like to see more routes than just the screen game that he was used in a lot in 2019. So in 2020, we'd love to see him get a little bit more sophisticated with the way that he's able to contribute in the passing game. But he is an absolute beast. We all know that. His speed, his acceleration, pretty unparalleled. Okay, I mean, you got Chuba Hubbard, you got Travis Etienne at the top of the running back tree. I mean, those are my 2 guys anyway at the top for running backs. I was stoked to get Travis Etienne here. I traded up 2 picks to get him. It was a very cheap price that I had to pay, which I actually liked because that set the tone, sort of set the market of what does it cost to move up a little bit. And if I was able to do that on the cheap, I was really stoked to sort of set that market rate. And then that made movement throughout the draft board very easy as we move forward in the draft. If it cost a lot to move, even a couple spots, early in the draft, then that's a whole different rate. And so I was happy to get this pick on the cheap. Second round pick, I went with TYLAN Wallace. I considered Tamarian Terry, who I love a lot. But to be honest, now that the draft is done, I kind of went into this draft with a little bit of a vanity decision on my hands. I wanted every pick, or damn near every pick, if I could, to be a player who I had no shares of yet. I'm in a bunch of these leagues, and so I was tempted to pull the trigger on Terry, but I just drafted him in my Survivors League draft the month prior, so I ended up going with Wallace. I love Wallace. I wanted to get a share of Wallace. I was happy to get it. An ACL injury kept him out of the draft. I think he should be able to come back and smash for part or all of the 2020 season. His hands and contested catches, I think, can definitely improve. But he does play with an attitude. You can see the first play in this reel. Ray Garvin has described him as he has some dog in his game. And I think Ray's right about that. He was used more deep in 2018 and much more screen heavy in 2019 due to the quarterback situation. I think that will be able to balance out a little bit more in 2020. That would be my anticipation. So I took him over to Tamarian Terry. I may regret that down the line. But overall, I'm excited to get a share of TYLAN Wallace with my second round draft pick. Go on to the third round. I'm sticking with guys I do believe have an NFL future. David Bell was my choice. When Rondale Moore went down with an injury in 2019, Bell was a true freshman. He came in and smashed. He ended up as the Big Ten Freshman of the Year. The kid's a competitor. He plays with poise and grit. He needs to learn how to create separation in 2020. There was not a lot of separation in his game. He was able to make these catches with a lot of distraction, a lot of bodies close by. So he needs to be able to create separation. He's got time to do that. He has 2 more years in college to be able to develop and blossom in that element of his game, which he'll need to do. But I believe he can. He certainly has a major skill set. He's got that size. He's got a lot of the foundation that you want to see. The fact that he was able to do it off the street as a true freshman says a lot to you. And I think we'll see if they can iron out their quarterback situation. Pair him with Rondale Moore. And then you got Malik coming in, who also has a lot of promise for them. There's a lot of excitement that's going to build as this Purdue program moves forward if they can figure out who the right quarterback is to lead their squad. Moving on to the fourth round, I ended up trading back here, okay? I made a small drop for 2 bumps later. I ended up still getting a great player in the fourth round. I took Terrace Marshall, 6'4", 200-pound, former 5-star recruit. He was in the same class as Jamar Chase at LSU, and a lot of people forget the higher rated player was Terrace Marshall. He was the 5-star, not Jamar Chase. Marshall is coming along. He definitely was able to come into his own a good bit last year. 46 grabs, 671 yards, and 13 scores last year in 12 games. With Justin Jefferson going to the NFL, Marshall moves into the wide receiver 2 spot for LSU. If Miles Brennan can be a competent quarterback, Marshall can be a legit star for LSU in 2020. I feel great about that. And I think Miles Brennan is going to be fine. Okay, I don't think he's going to be Joe Burrow. I think he's going to be fine. And I think Marshall has some nice things ahead for him this year. 5th round, I'm over to CJ Verdell. Really like getting CJ Verdell on my squad. 1,220 yards rushing in 2019 after over 1,000 as a redshirt freshman in 2018. So he's got 2,000 plus yard campaigns on his resume. 14 receptions last year, were down from 27 as a freshman. Now he's a capable blocker. I'm looking for him to increase those receptions in 2020. You want to see him get back to a higher reception total, which I think he'll be able to do under new offensive coordinator Joe Moorhead. He's short but sturdy at 5'9", 210. I really need to see less boom and bust in his game. He had 7 games with 50 or less rushing yards last season. So he needs to get a little bit more consistent, or a lot more consistent would be great. You can see the talent is there, but you want to see that flash more consistently in 2020 as he hopefully ends up in the NFL draft after this season. Now, in any draft, we're going to react to business as business is being done, right? So this is what I would call my 6th round pick, is I would definitely say is a pivot pick. Okay, I pivoted away from exclusively just picking guys that I felt like were definitely NFL prospects. This was my first pivot pick. 5-star incoming freshmen were flying off the board. I wanted to get one. So I was happy to grab Jackson Smith-NJIGBA. a 5-star wide receiver, 6'1", 200. He's been underhyped, I feel like, due to the fellow 5-star wide receiver Julian Fleming being in that same Ohio State recruiting class. JSN's career stat line, 293 grabs, 5,400 yards receiving, and 65 touchdowns. That is the largest division of Texas high school ball, and he excelled in it. I really like this kid and all he has the capability to do. Now, he's an incoming freshman, so he's an unproven product. We've got to see it on the field. It is a bit of a pivot here in the 6th round, but like we say, you got to do business as business is being done. If this is when these guys are flying off the board, I want one of these dudes. So I'm happy to grab Jackson Smith here, and I'm hoping that he turns into the guy that he looks like he has the capability to be. In the 7th round, I am back to a guy that I do believe is an NFL prospect, Charlie Kolar, tight end for Iowa State. He's 6'6", 252 pounds, posted 51 grabs, 697 yards receiving, and 7 touchdowns in 2019. He will be a key weapon again in 2020 for Brock Purdy and the Cyclones after the big 3 of Pitts, Jordan, and Freiermuth in a highly touted tight end class. Kolar is currently underrated. I think he is sort of a 4th guy who is not far off from their pace. He's not on their level yet. He is another tier. I will definitely say that. But you got a guy like Kolar in the mix to be a pretty damn good consolation prize if you can't get in on the big 3 of those guys at tight end. So Kolar, I feel good about grabbing him, snagging him on my squad in the 7th round. Now, I would say in the 8th round is when I'm finally pivoting into what I would say is stage 2 of my team build. Okay, team build becomes now a consideration. I feel like I can be confident in having 6 NFL prospects in my first 7 rounds of this draft. Okay, I hope that I have 7 NFL prospects in the first 7 rounds. The incoming freshman was that pivot pick, so I can't say for sure whether I have that or not, but I'm certainly hoping. He's a 5-star recruit. They have a pretty decent hit rate, especially wide receiver, so I'm hoping he pops, right? So I am starting stage 2 in round 8. D'Eriq King was my selection. First time I'm going to quarterback. Now, this is a 2 QB college league, and it is a super flex on the NFL side of the C2C. I was stoked to grab King here. He was the #1 overall scorer from 2018. Okay, so if I can grab the #1 overall scorer from 2018, get him in my QB1 in the 8th round, feel pretty good about that. Now, I'm not sure what sort of jump Miami can make as a team in 2020, but I do expect King to do well in Rhett Lashley's new offense. So I think this was a solid pick. I definitely had some guys in the league who were not happy that I made that pick. They had eyes on King themselves. And so to grab him as a value guy in the 8th round as my QB1, I think it's a good spot. Is he going to be an NFL quarterback? I can't tell you what the future holds there, but I certainly feel good about adding him at this spot in the draft. In the 9th round, I did make a trade up. I wanted Daz Newsome, and I got him. 5'11", 190 pounds speedster with dynamic ability. He can contribute in multiple ways. Last year, he had 72 grabs, 1,018 yards, 10 touchdowns as a junior. He's back for his senior season. He is ready to explode with Sam Howell opposite Diami Brown. The North Carolina offense is going to be borderline prolific, if not just genuinely explosive in 2020. So they are looking primed for a huge year. Daz Newsome, underrated. He's a guy that you may not have heard a ton about. I think you're going to hear a ton about him moving forward because he's pretty damn good, and he's got a lot of ability, and he's going to start to move up boards as a prospect. And I like grabbing him here in the 9th round. He's another guy like, yeah, is he a blue chip NFL prospect? Not necessarily, but he has the ability to develop into a legitimate NFL prospect. So I feel good about adding Newsome to my squad here in the 9th. 10th round, I'm looking, again, it's a 2 QB league. I went with Kellen Mond here. He's the most experienced QB in the SEC. He checks off a lot of boxes on that Bill Parcells, that well-publicized Bill Parcells model, his goals when he was drafting a QB in the NFL, right? He wanted a 3-year starter, check. He wanted a guy who started 30 or more games, check. He wanted a guy who won 23 or more games, check. He wanted a guy with a 2-to-1 TD to INT ratio, check again. Okay, Mond still has room to improve, obviously. He, in many ways, has been considered a bit of a disappointment by some. Understandably so. Okay, he hasn't hit his ceiling. There's no doubt about that. I don't think anyone's going to tell you he has. But if he does continue to make improvement, he's got enough of a foundation as a prospect that he's going to be able to get a look, get a chance in the NFL somewhere. Round 11, I went Rakeem Boyd, 184 carries, 1133 for yardage, and 8 touchdowns as a junior in the SEC on a 2-10 football team. Now, if you're on a 2-10 football team, you're not exactly grinding out the clock at the end of games, right? So the fact that he was able to perform as well as he did on that talent level of a squad, I think says a lot in the SEC. He had 42 receptions over the past 2 years, shows promise as a receiver. He's back for his senior campaign in Fayetteville. I am interested to see what Rakeem Boyd can do this season. And in the 11th round, I think, again, that adds a potential guy to my team. He's not a rock solid prospect per se, but I think he has plenty of potential to get a look in the NFL. So I like that. That's the balance I'm looking for in stage 2. 12th round, I went back to the incoming freshman. Okay, I went Michael Mayer, tight end, Notre Dame. There were only 17 tight ends that were 5-star recruits in the past 20 years, according to 24/7 Sports. Mayer's final 2 seasons of high school, he had 96 grabs, 1,999 yards, and 27 touchdowns. Notre Dame has tight ends, despite Cole Kmet's departure. But Mayer will have a chance to carve out a role even as a true freshman potentially. We'll see about that. Michael Mayer, look, he was one of the last 5 stars available. I grabbed him in the 12th round. Feel good about it. In the 13th round, back to running back, Mohamed Ibrahim, 5'10", 210 pounds. People forget he went over 1,100 yards in 2018. He had 202 carries, 1,160 for yardage, and 9 scores in 2018. He was limited last year. He had injuries, and they had returning vet players that popped ahead of him on the roster a little bit. Okay, there's a wide open runway for him in 2020. It looks like he will have a chance to get back after it and be able to excel for the Gophers in 2020. 14th round, I grabbed my QB3, Ian Book, 6 foot 212, passed for over 3,000 yards in 2019, a 34-6 TD to INT ratio. That's pretty damn good, right? He's a 3-year starter. He might not be explosive, but he's pretty damn solid. To add him in the 14th round, I feel good about that. I think he will get a shot somewhere. I don't know to what degree he will get a shot in the NFL. I do believe he will get a shot in the NFL. He's a 3-year starter at a major program. So, yeah, I think Ian Book is a great grab as my QB3 here. 15th round, I did make a pivot. I wanted some young depth. And that's one of those underrated things in a C2C draft. You want to have enough thought and foresight to develop some depth. You don't want to just grab so many guys that are likely in next year's draft class that now you have no depth behind them. At some point, you're going to leave yourself thin. You got to try to at least have an eyeball on that as you go through your draft. Have it in your thought process, if nothing else. I did make a pivot in the 15th and 16th round. Grabbed some young depth. In the 15th round, I grabbed Tyu Jones-Bell, wide receiver for Alabama. Alabama's receiving core will never lack competition. There's no doubt about that, even with 2 first-round picks leaving. Okay, so TJB may be a year away from contributing, but I do like him long-term. I think his game will translate well into the SEC for the Crimson Tide, and I'm excited to see what he can do as we move forward. In round 16, we are back to the running back position, going with Jalen Berger, incoming freshman running back for the University of Wisconsin. Now, Jonathan Taylor leaves off to the NFL, elite premier running back. Everybody's excited about him as a prospect. Big time vacancy for the Badgers, though. Now, a lot of people feel like Takia Watson is going to be the guy to fill in there. Jalen Berger is going to see if he has something to say about that. Now, the whole COVID-19 issue is going to throw a lot of wrenches into the possibilities maybe for a lot of young guys to come in and contribute right away. Look, I think Jalen Berger is going to get his shot sooner rather than later. He is a bit of a long-term play in case it takes him a while. Watson could be the guy in 2020, but if Berger's ready for 2021, especially if he can fill out his frame a little bit, get a little bit thicker as a freshman hitting that weight room, I think there's a lot of excitement for the things that he has in store for him moving forward for Wisconsin. In the next 3 rounds of this draft, I ended up pivoting again a little bit to some breakout players I think that could explode even though they're a little bit off the radar for a lot of different people. In a C2C draft, there is no list sitting there that people are looking at that have the average draft position, which is beautiful, because after the first 4 to 5 rounds, it really becomes the Wild West. You are just going and getting your guy. Okay, and it's risky to let guys drop and say, yeah, I think I can wait a round or two to get him, because you know what? Somebody else might like him and grab him in a spot where you had no thought whatsoever that he was going to go at this spot in the draft. JASHAUN CORBIN in the 17th round is a guy I grabbed. Florida State running back, formerly at Texas A&M. He began 2019 as the starter at Texas A&M. He won the job, and then he went out for the year with an injury. But he is eligible to play at 2020 at Florida State after transferring over there. Okay, Isaiah Spiller became the guy as a freshman, but that was only after JASHAUN CORBIN went out for the year. Corbin beat out Spiller in the summer camp. So that is worth noting. Bring that mindset to the table, and then he came in as Norvell's guy that he brought in 2020 for Florida State. He's going to be able to get a shot to play over there. 18th round pick, I went AMARI RODGERS. He was slated to emerge last year as the wide receiver 3 for Clemson, behind T. Higgins, behind Justin Ross. He tore his ACL in spring ball, was back on the field in September. I have no idea how. That is a banana land recovery time. I don't know how he did it. But a year plus removed now, I think we all know that once you really have that full time to recover from an ACL injury like that, you get your leg literally back underneath you. And I think 2020 could finally be his time to have that breakout season that a lot of people were expecting going into last spring. In the 19th round, I grabbed another receiver who I think could have an explosive breakout season. Kevin Austin from Notre Dame. He's 6'2", 210. He's a former top 100 recruit. If you look at his high school film, I think you can see quickly why he was a top 100 recruit. Kid is a legit player. He only went 5 receptions, 90 yards as a true freshman 2 years ago, and he was reportedly suspended for the whole 2019 season. All right, but he was with the team throughout the 2019 season. We don't know what that whole story was, but whatever it was, he seemed to take his punishment, still stuck with the squad. In limited spring practices, he was running with the first team by all reports. Okay, so if he's expected to start on a top 10 team, and you have that Chase Claypool role wide open like it is, I'm interested. Okay, so in the 19th round, I think that's another guy off the radar who I'm grabbing at a great value. I will say the next 4 rounds, I didn't like these picks by and large. I had life issues. Okay, this was one of my busiest times of the year at work. I had crazy things going on at work, just non-stop. We were in quarantine. We're doing all this remote school stuff. I had these giant high-profile projects that you don't need to hear about it. But bottom line, I would say I was on tilt over the next 4 rounds. Let's go through the picks. 20th round, Lorenzo Lingard. He's a former 5-star recruit. He's been injured. Never ended up doing much at Miami. He's moved over, trying to reboot the career after transferring to Florida. There's not a lot of college film yet, but he certainly had talent as a recruit. That's clear. The odds are looking longer as the years pile up. But, you know, I felt like rolling the dice on him was a decent move here. I don't hate the pick. I don't love the pick. 21st round, we'll see here. CJ Marable, running back, 5'10", 190. He's a running back with receiving ability. He had 38 receptions in 2019, so that was nice. The Coastal Carolina, all right. Scrimmage touches, stat line from last year was 242, 1380 yardage, and 14 scores. He's got a Sun Belt schedule. Okay, so the future is iffy. I don't know what his future as a prospect is, but certainly he's going to help the fantasy football team, right? I am putting a lineup in every week to try and compete for a college title here in the C2C league, so that'll help. There's no doubt about that, all right? I can't say I'm excited about the pick, but again, I was on tilt. This was a crazy, crazy stretch. One pick I did like in this range, 22nd round, I took MALIK HORNSBY. He's a top 100 player in top 24/7 ranks. Vince Young comparisons have been made. There's a long way to go for that, no doubt. Okay, but I do like him as a dynamic player coming in as the new staff's recruit. All right, we're hoping he can become a star. I would love to see that happen. We'll see. Long way to go. Like we said, he's got to fill out. He's string bean at the moment, but Jaden Daniels showed that you can still be a string bean and maybe do well in the FBS ranks. 23rd round pick. This is probably my least favorite pick of the draft. Langston Anderson, wide receiver, Oklahoma State, top 24/7. Had him as a top 100 player 6 foot 202. He's got good speed, burst, and strength. Plays aggressive and physical, even without the ball, which I do like. I do like to see that. That sort of has football character written all over it. It's concerning that he didn't emerge as a true freshman, even when TYLAN Wallace went out with injury. So it seemed like, you know, the runway was wide open for him to make that happen. And the fact that he didn't, not great. I'm taking a chance that could still happen. But this is probably a pick that I disliked the most overall. I felt like there were better things I could have done with this pick. And afterwards, I felt a little gross about my 21st and 23rd round pick, particularly. But with that said, sort of gathered myself after making that Anderson pick. And I just said, look, you're going on tilt in a month-long draft. That doesn't mean I need to stay on tilt just because I got on tilt a little bit. All right, I can always recalibrate, make good picks. There's no need to panic. There's no need to chase makeup picks because you don't like a couple picks that you made, right? Just make good picks moving forward, and I can feel great about making 2 good ones in the next couple rounds here. 24th round, TARIK Black. I feel good about this. He was a highly rated 4-star in 2017, flashed as a true freshman. Injuries have definitely dogged him since, so that is a concern. It's a lingering concern. He played 11 games in 2019 and only had 25 grabs, 323 yards, and a score. He's expected to start at Texas. If he does, Black's ceiling is still high. The floor could be low, but the ceiling could be high, so I'm interested. So I like this pick. Overall, I think it's good value in the 24th round. 25th round went JASHAUN Jones, another guy who's kind of fallen off people's radars. 6'1", 190 from Maryland. Wide receiver, expected to lead the wide receiving core in Maryland in 2019 after going 22 grabs, 288 yards, and 5 touchdowns as a true freshman. He ended up missing the year with injury. If he can regain that form and trajectory, he could have big things ahead. So that could be another guy kind of missed the year with injury, went off radars, and so in the 25th round, perhaps I'm getting a guy who could contribute and do some very nice things moving forward. 26th round, Carson BECK, quarterback, Georgia. This pick didn't have a lot of shelf life, let's say that. Shortly after I made this pick, JT Daniels to Georgia news broke. And that threw a bucket of cold water on this selection. With Brock Vandegrift already coming to town in 2021, it won't be a shocker if BECK ends up in a portal at some point. In terms of his background, BECK was named Mr. Football in Florida in 2018 after leading his team to an 8A state championship. He's a 3-sport athlete. He's got a powerful arm, strong football IQ. He could have a bright future. It just might not be for Georgia. So we'll see what happens with Carson BECK. 27th round, I stuck with Georgia. Kenny McIntosh was sitting there. He seemed like a crazy value to me at this point. He was a 4-star recruit last year. Zamir White and Cook are still there. Their roles, the roles all around for the backfield are undefined. Moving into 2020, McIntosh flashed ability and limited true freshman action. They did preserve his red shirt. The Georgia stable of running backs will limit weekly fantasy football numbers, but they always develop prospects. In the 28th round, I might have been able to let him slide, but I just went and grabbed my guy. Okay, he was the first repeat player. I mentioned earlier, I kind of went into this draft saying, I don't know, I might just grab all people I don't have anywhere else. This is the first guy I grabbed, a repeat player I already own elsewhere, but I love his potential ceiling. 28th round, Devin Williams, wide receiver for Oregon. He's a former number 40 overall nationally ranked prospect. He was the #1 athlete, according to Rivals. His high school highlights show why. He transferred from USC to Oregon. He sat out last year. He has been largely forgotten, but he practiced the entire year at Oregon. He's expected to start at the X position in Joe Moorhead's offense. Mario Cristobal has made comments that make it seem like he could be in for a big year, as has Joe Moorhead, who dropped a Chris Godwin reference in discussing Devin Williams and the X position in his offense. So a blow up is possible. I'm in on that if I can grab him at a value spot here. 29th round, I decided to go. I'd been fading the tight end position for a while. Started out with Kolar, added Mayer as young depth, okay, but I felt like I needed some further depth at the tight end position. 29-07, I grabbed Peyton Hendershot. He's third team All Big Ten for Indiana. He went 52 grabs, 622 yards, and 4 scores last year. Catches well, he's plenty capable as a blocker. 6'4", 255. He was suspended for an arrest in February, but back with the team in a probationary capacity. by all reports. He has a chance to really excel this season. I didn't love his film when I watched it, but I thought, you know, he's certainly got enough in the Big Ten to be a reasonably interesting prospect. But I will say, I did also have eyeballs on TREY McBride, and I decided to go ahead and trade up to grab both of them. I wanted both of these guys. TREY McBride, I grabbed at 29-11. He's an excellent receiver for Colorado State. Came on down the stretch. Okay, he had 45 grabs, 560 yards, and 4 scores. But 67% of his catches, 74% of his yards, and 100% of his touchdowns were in the second half of the season. So he blossomed as the season went on. They got a new coach there, Steve Addazio. He has featured tight ends with multiple offensive coordinators at Boston College. So McBride, I think his stock is going to continue to rise. I think he's a super interesting guy for the Rams, and so I was stoked to grab him as a fourth tight end. I think he's going to contribute fantasy football numbers, and I think he can develop into a nice move tight end prospect at the next level. After 29-11, I didn't pick again until 32-02, where I grabbed Chris Robinson, first team all-conference for Conference USA as a redshirt sophomore at Florida Atlantic. After grabbing a couple young QBs already recently in the draft who are going to need time to develop, Robinson provides depth for me as an incumbent guy with 2 seasons left. He had over 3,700 yards last year, 28-6 TD to INT ratio. There's a new staff in town, but hopefully if he can continue to improve in his junior and senior seasons, that can be good from a fantasy football perspective, and maybe he can develop as a prospect. We'll see. 32-06, I grabbed Joshua Simon, rounded out my tight end selections for the draft. After fading tight end for a long time, I really went a little bit heavy in this recent section of the draft, and I feel like I got some nice value on the back end here. Simon really caps things off for me at the position. He had 30 grabs as a true freshman, 430 yards and 4 scores. He's 6'5", 235. He's going to fill out more, but his future could be bright. There's a lot of vacated production at Western Kentucky. He could absolutely eat if they figure out the QB situation next year. My 33rd round pick, Jordan Addison, really liked him as an incoming guy for Pitt. He turned heads in the few spring practices that Pitt was able to get in before the shutdown. He could contribute right away. There's going to be opportunities for him to jump in, hit the field, and do something productive for the Panthers. He needs to fill out that frame. His talent is immense. He's number 130 nationally in the top 24/7. He's got confirmed 4.51 speed. He's got slot skills, wide skills, kick return skills. He's a hands catcher. He's really smooth, has plenty of burst. I like Jordan Addison. 34th round, stuck with wide receiver. Grabbed a guy a little bit older, Tariq Milton, Iowa State. 35 grabs, 722 yards and 3 touchdowns in 2019. That's 20.6 yards per reception. That's promising. We like to see that, to demonstrate explosion, demonstrate the ability to stretch the field. He's going to be Brock Purdy's top returning wide receiver threat as a redshirt junior. Kid has speed to burn, major yak skills. He's got ability, returning punts as well. So anytime you can contribute in the kicking game, it's going to add to your value as a prospect in the NFL. He's only 5'10", 183, but he wins with speed. He plays fearlessly. He could shine for the Cyclones in their top receiving role next season. So we're going to see about that. In the 34th round, felt like that was well worth the shot. 35th round, grabbed Caleb Huntley, running back, Ball State. He has a pair of 1,000-plus yard seasons. He had 1,275 for yards last year and 12 touchdowns. Only 7 receptions, so not much in the pass game. So I'd like to see more there. But at a minimum, he's a nice depth running back add in round 35. 36th round, I grabbed Trey Bradford, a 4-star recruit, number 129 nationally for LSU. His top end speed is excellent. He's certainly on display in these clips. His senior season, he had over 1,500 rushing yards, 23 touchdowns. He averaged 9.2 yards per carry. Also had 12 receptions for 242 yards and 3 scores. It seems likely that he's going to redshirt in 2020, and then he'll get in the mix for 2021. That's fine with me. I got enough depth at this point in the draft where I feel like I can shoulder that no problem on my college team, and I'll look forward to seeing what Trey Bradford can do down the line for LSU. Round 37, I grabbed Johnny Ford. He redshirted in 2019, only played in 4 games, but as a true freshman in 2018, he had over 700 yards, 787 yards and 8 touchdowns. He played slot to start things off moving in 2019. He appears like he's going back to running back for 2020. If you watch these highlights, to me, I see sort of like this little Dollar Tree Clyde Edwards-Helaire. or at least that potential. I know that's saying a lot. That's a big stretch. But I think there's value for this kid in a world where Clyde Edwards-Helaire can become an elite prospect. I don't think Johnny Ford is going to be that elite prospect, but I think he could be an interesting prospect. Maybe he's a Boston Scott. I'm interested in Johnny Ford. I don't know where he's going to go, but in the 37th round, I'm willing to buy a ticket to find out. In the 38th round, I went Elijah Badger, another incoming freshman, Arizona State. He's smooth, he's physical, plenty fast. He's got plus vision and awareness that he demonstrates on film. He's got excellent hands. He could definitely add some bulk, 6'1", 185. He's got promise to play and potentially maybe even excel in year 1 or 2 with Jaden Daniels slinging it at Arizona State. They got a stacked wide receiver class coming in, but he's part of that stack, and so he's going to have his opportunity. We'll see what he does with it. 39th round, grab Jalen Gill. He followed Jeff Hathley from Ohio State to Boston College, number 30 overall recruit in 2018 in the country as an all-purpose back. He switched to wide receiver, log-jammed on that Ohio State depth chart. He brings speed and athleticism that's not typical to that BC roster. He may have to sit a year, but he could be someone who shines for the Eagles when he has an opportunity to finally see the field. 40th round, Logan Bonner. He had over 1,000 yards, a 10-to-1 TD to INT ratio in 4 games last year for Arkansas State. Then he was done for the year with an injury. Lane Hatcher comes in. He raked. Became the Sun Belt Freshman of the Year. Look, Bonner beat him for the job last year. If Bonner holds the gig in 2020, if he doesn't get Wally pipped, that's an amazing value in round 40 to be leading that Arkansas State system. Now, if not, it certainly wouldn't be the first 40th round pick to be a useless selection. But for the ceiling that could be possible, I like it. Logan Bonner, round 40, let's go. At 4107, I grabbed Curtis Rourke, Ohio. He's the brother of Nathan Rourke, who was the number 13 overall scorer in this college side of the league last year. Curtis is a redshirt freshman. He came in and was able to earn the backup job to his brother in 2019. He's expected to take over in 2020. The highlights that are available are all Canadian football, and it's a tricky evaluation because of that. Can't say that I think it is all that fantastic in terms of film. But look, the Ohio U folks are big on him. Round 41, worth a shot. We'll see. I ended up trading up for another pick in round 41 to grab Brennan Armstrong. He was widely viewed as the next quarterback after Bryce Perkins. Had a wrench thrown in that mix by the transfer of Keaton Thompson from Mississippi State. If Armstrong holds Thompson off, I'm grabbing a potential 3-year starter here in round 41, and I love that. Round 43, I grabbed Kevin Marks. Look, only in the C2C draft do you get to draft a 1,000+ yard rusher in round 43. Jared Patterson gets all the headlines for the Bulls with good reason, but Marks, he's 6 foot, 200 pounds. He went 180 carries, 845 yards, and 13 scores as a freshman. Last year, he had over 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns as a sophomore. Not a bad consolation prize on the Bulls. Round 44, another one of my repeat players that I own elsewhere. I love this guy as another off-the-radar, late grab that could return potential huge value for me. 4406, I grabbed Asa Martin, former 4-star Auburn commit. He saw some touches as a true freshman, and then he transferred to Miami for like 10 seconds and transferred again to Memphis, and as a result, he had to sit out last year. He's a former IMG guy. He was that pace change guy to Trey Sanders. He transferred again for his senior season. It's like My Strange Addiction transferring schools. He transferred to his senior season, Austin High School. Look, he has the talent to be that next Tony Pollard, that next Antonio Gibson role for the Memphis Tigers. If he does that, that's a great value in round 44. And with my last pick, I traded up cheap to 4408 to grab Austin Burton. He just transferred to Purdue from UCLA. He is immediately eligible as a grad transfer. He's got 2 years of eligibility remaining. He didn't play much at UCLA, except for this start against Oregon State. He does bring athleticism, though, that the other Purdue QBs don't have. He may be a long shot to start in week 1 because the other guys have been in the system. The other guys have been around a lot longer, and Burton can't even get there until July. But with 2 years left to play, if he ends up seeing the field, if one guy wins the job but goes out with injury and Burton gets on the field, if he gets on the field, he could stay there and he could get exciting in a hurry. So I think for a last pick in the C2C draft, buy a lottery ticket, see if you can cash it in down the line. So that's my draft. I know it's a lot. Look, here's the team I ended up with. This is the squad. I really like it. I can feel good moving forward with this as my college team. And of course, that's going to inform how I build my NFL team in the NFL draft that follows this one. So because I have Travis Etienne as my first round pick, I didn't feel like I needed to necessarily jump on running back early in the NFL side. So I was able to grab Lamar Jackson as my first round pick and feel fantastic about that as well. And that's the other side of this. There's always a build, there's always a blend. Your college team is going to inform some of your personnel decisions on the NFL side of things. That's part of the fun, the unique strategy, the unique fun associated with Campus to Canton leagues. Look, I hope you got something out of this video. If you're still watching, God bless you. So I appreciate you listening, watching, checking it out, and I hope you enjoy this, that you're in some C2C leagues, and if you're not, I hope you're getting in one. Let's make sure we keep growing this format. It is the most fun you're going to have playing fantasy football. If you haven't checked it out yet, trust me on it, check me on it, give it a shot, and tell me I'm wrong. I'm telling you, I'm very confident you're going to love it. All right, so thanks for checking in. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching, listening, and following along with this. Just one guy's two thoughts. I'm not saying I'm right. This is just me. All right, so thanks. I hope everyone's good. Be well, be a good human. Talk to you soon. Wait! P.S. I forgot. If you're still here, you are plenty enough of a nerd to think this will be dynamite, okay? Look down, if you haven't seen it yet, in the description below the video. And what you'll find is a link to 2 different drafts, okay? Tracked the Nerds C2C draft and tracked the Survivors League draft that we did a month earlier. Okay, it's tough to find ADP information for Campus to Canton drafts, right? So you can check that out. It's a view-only file, but if you open it up as a Google Sheet and then make a copy, do file, make a copy, then you can have it on your Google Drive, and then you own that one. And now you can start playing around with the data and the filters at the top. You can organize it however you want. Okay, so I think what you'll find is, look, some guys, you'll be surprised how many guys went in one draft and didn't go in the other. You'll be surprised how early some guys went and went way later in the other, and vice versa. Right? So I think it's interesting. Like we say, you get out of like the first 5 rounds and it just becomes go get your guy season. But still, I think it's valuable to be able to see that data, process that data. Look, these guys in these 2 leagues, a bunch of shocks that know this stuff. I have so much respect for the guys in both of those leagues. They know their stuff, man. And so the amount of depth of talent, you just got to go get your guy. Once you get beyond those chalk rounds, get your dudes. All right, so hopefully you find that interesting. Down below. Thanks.